Good morning, everyone. I welcome you to the Thursday, April 6, 2023 Public Works Committee meeting. And first thing we have is call to order and roll call. And with us we have Councilmember Althauser, Councilmember Schneider, and myself, Councilmember Swarthout. First thing we need to do is approve the minutes from the March 9th, 2023 meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'm gonna abstain from this because I wasn't at that meeting, so I can't really.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Minutes, so.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So moved.
Sorry. I guess I'll second. Those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, we get that one
And I'll
passed. Thank you.
abstain. For the
Okay.
record, I abstain.
For the record, Michael was absent. All right, so let's move on to our first item that we have. It's resolution number R 2023-007. And we have, it has to do with our fish passage barrier removal design. And Dan said that we have Meredith up today. Good morning, Meredith.
Council members. Of course, I'm bringing you another fish passage project, just trying to make it harder and harder to say all the projects that we have going on in water resources. It's my goal here. So as you mentioned, today we're bringing forward a resolution related to a fish passage project. So I'm going to go a little bit over the project itself and then talk about kind of why we're having to do this resolution as part of our funding strategy. So we are looking at the fish passage barrier at Somerset Hill. So the Percival Creek area might be familiar to you as we've been working on Sap Road. You can see that one is a little bit further south and we're focusing on the Somerset Hill Drive area right now. So the Percival Creek as a whole, we've been doing a lot of work on it, from the fish passage project at Sap Road to the Sap Road Park area that Tumwater has been kind of restoring and maintaining for a really long time now. Percival Creek is an awesome kind of hidden gem within the city of Tumwater that has really high potential for salmonids as well as for restoration. Percival Creek itself runs from Trosper Lake all the way down to Capitol Lake, and some of the limiting factors for the area that we're concerned about from a salmon perspective are fish passage barriers, stream temperatures, large woody debris like trees that are falling into the creek, which are creating habitat, and the lack of habitat overall. So as I mentioned, we're doing a lot of work on Percival Creek. So in total, there are 10 potential barriers along Percival Creek. That's in any area where a road has to cross over the creek. There's one full barrier right at Sap Road. That one, we've been working on the designs. We have construction funding. We're going to get that project constructed next summer, which is very exciting. Then there are kind of two potential barriers. So these are barriers that can be blocking part of the time for fish, whether that's in this case an issue with velocities. So when we have pretty high storm events, too much water is being funneled through too small of a culvert that it's impossible for a fish to get up just because the water is moving so quickly. So now that we're fixing the one full fish passage barrier, we're kind of putting our mind toward other barriers in the system. Two potential ones. One is at Somerset Hill, which is this project we're talking about today. And the other is down north of I-5, and that's owned by WDFW. There's talks with them to see if they can fix that as well. Overall, we're trying to meet a lot of goals, including part of the Deschutes River Watershed Salmon Recovery's group of having 100% of freshwater streams containing fish accessible by 2050. So we're working on kind of that timeline and really working to make all of Percival Creek 100% passable. Right now, there's about a 5-foot culvert that's about 103 feet long. It's a partial barrier due to velocity. That was kind of determined in 2015. We had that checked again in 2022, and it's still a partial barrier. In general, we have a kind of formula putting together when we're thinking about how big a culvert needs to be in order to properly pass fish. The idea being that ideally a culvert is letting a creek or river move how it would naturally move. So we want to get it outside of the natural footprint. So after measuring all of the footprints in this area, we're looking at a minimum crossing size of at least 22 feet. For reference, at Sap Road, we're putting in a 19-foot culvert. So this area has a little bit of a wider creek. So we're looking at putting in an even bigger kind of culvert here. We're looking for funding from the Salmon Recovery Funding Board to fund the design work for this. So if we do a planning only grant from that funding source, it requires no match from the city. So we're seeking about $280,000 to do the design work here. One of the requirements from a Salmon Recovery Funding Board perspective is passing a resolution from a project sponsor that allows them to apply for funding. So this resolution means that we would, if receiving funding, that the city of Tumwater would meet all of the requirements from a Washington Department of Conservation kind of grant related perspectives. That's what the resolution today is all about, is setting us up so we are able to apply for this design funding. In the meantime, we are working with Skillings in order to complete a type, size, and location study, pretty much an alternatives analysis. We're looking for design funding, but we're not quite sure what we want to design right now. What's the best option that would fit in this space? So we're looking at 3 potential options. We're looking at a 3-sided box culvert. A box culvert is what we're putting in at Sap Road. That one is 4-sided, but it's a similar kind of setup. There's also an option of putting in a prefab bridge or a steel plate arch culvert. All of these have different pros and cons from a cost perspective, from how big we're able to actually get them, things like that. And so Skillings is working on finishing up their report that Tumwater should be receiving in April that will give us a better idea of what we want to move forward with the design grant that we're looking for. All that said, we're really hoping to continue the great work that the city of Tumwater is doing along Percival Creek for salmon. This has the potential to impact chum, chinook, coho, steelhead, sea run cutthroat, and resident trout. We did eDNA sampling back in 2019 and found that there are salmon in the system. They're currently not able to get above Sap Road, but it is being used. Then when we were out in January of this year, we saw a number of reds, which are just the buried nests that salmon lay their eggs in, right below the Somerset Hill culvert. So it's really exciting that we do have salmon in the system. They're using it, they're just not able to get all the way up like they would want to. So continuing work in this area is really important. And it's awesome to know that we already have fish using the system. And if we make it even easier for them to access, that they'll continue to do that and hopefully thrive. With all that said, this is the staff request for today. And I will take any questions that anybody has about this project or the process as a whole.
Okay, Councilmember Schneider.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Meredith. So it appears on the slide, one of the slides you presented, the culvert would be underneath a road. So how difficult is that to replace a culvert under a road? I mean, it just seems to me if we remove the original one, the road's going to cave in, or at least the surrounding soil. So how do you prevent that?
Sure. So one of the things that we're looking at in options like this is figuring out if we want to be able to build back to kind of a culvert situation, like a plate arch culvert. So when we're dealing with situations where there is a lot of fill, the amount of roadway above the culvert right now is pretty darn high. That increases construction costs for a project to have to dig out. There are a couple options. If we put another similar culvert down, then we'd be able to dig it out, put the culvert in, and then replace the fill on top of it. With options like a prefab bridge, where you're kind of leaving more open space, you put a bridge in and then you'd work to stabilize the bank in that area so that we're not having that kind of cave in. A lot of these are things that we're hoping that Skillings is taking a look at when they're doing their alternatives analysis. So we're thinking about cost to construct. We're also thinking about the feasibility of things like that. We want to make sure that whatever we're putting in is stable enough, is strong enough to hold all that fill and the roadway that needs to go on top of it.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, committee. I just wanted to jump in here real quick and also just, for full awareness, acknowledge that, everything that this resolution does is all, one of the primary things that this resolution does is also allows the Director of Water Resources and Sustainability, myself, to basically sign and continue the administration of all of the grant paperwork. It's one of the essential functions, that we would be able to basically accomplish versus otherwise it would be Mayor Sullivan that would have to be responsive to all of the documents, things along those lines. So this resolution also sets us up to be able to handle all of the administrative functions, which it's a relatively new component of these grant programs, but just wanted to make sure that that was clearly articulated as well. So this is a great project, and I'm really glad to have Meredith doing this one too. So I'll turn it back over to y'all and Meredith.
I have a question as far as, because I believe I know where that is, where the culvert's going to go on Somerset Drive, but isn't that also in the area where we've been having a problem with the sewage backup? So, because I
Yes.
think, yeah, when you're going up the hill, it's off to the left. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, so one of the goals of this project is also to help kind of protect the infrastructure that we do have down there. So part of the area does have kind of that sewer pipe that serves the neighborhood. We have had kind of some sewer overflow issues in the past. I think Steve has put in kind of a remote metering device that's hoping to alert us before that happens in the future. But one of the current situations that we have going on down there is the culvert is set up in a way that it's kind of shooting the river right into the bank. So one of the things that we are worried about down there is having that bank erode further back, potentially taking out some trees that might fall, and their root systems might take out that sewer line. So one of the things that we're proposing, and something that we had done at Sap Road, is putting in a culvert that's big enough that it allows the stream to move naturally, and also providing some help for the stream to have it move away from the bank and helping to stabilize that area. So that's something that is part of this project. It's on our mind to make sure that we're keeping and protecting infrastructure down there safe.
Perfect. That's great. 2 for 1. So that one. Oh, good. Do we have any other questions for Meredith on this? No? Okay. All right. So we do have a recommended action before us. Do I need to read it again? I always forget that part for Karen. I need to read it again. So staff requests Public Works Committee recommend the City Council approve and authorize the mayor to sign resolution number R 2023-007, the Somerset Hill Fish Passage Barrier Removal Design. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
A second. Okay. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okey doke. All right. Thank you, Meredith.
Thank you all.
And let's see, we are going to move on to our next one. And we are looking at service provider agreement with HDR Engineering, Inc. for the Old Highway 99 and 79th Avenue roundabout project. And take it away, Don.
Morning, Council. So yes, this is I'll start a screen share service provider agreement with HDR Engineering for the Old Highway 99, 79th Avenue roundabout. The project vicinity is on Old Highway 99 at the intersection of 79th Avenue. Get this to here. There's a location just a little east of the airport, right around Spuds. In addition, we are looking into doing a sidewalk improvement more east on 79th Avenue in the vicinity of the proposed trail park. And so here's the roundabout project location. Spuds in the upper right-hand corner with pick and pull in the lower right and the airport to the left. The sidewalk improvements are at the proposed operations and maintenance facility, proposed Trails End Park. We're going to be improving the frontage on both of those. And then also there'll be small sections between here and the roundabout that we're going to be picking up for ADA purposes and making sure that there's no gaps in the sidewalk from here to the intersection. In 2016, the 2036 Transportation Master Plan identified this as a need for intersection improvements. The current level of service at this intersection is significantly low. And with this roundabout, it's expected to be like at a level service of A. Currently, it's at an F. And also part of the corridor study, Old Highway 99 corridor study, this was included in that as well. This is kind of a concept design of the roundabout that was done with that corridor study. Going north, then we have to the east is going to be 79th Avenue. It's kind of a general roundabout design. We propose to make it very similar to the current designs that are happening at I-5 Trosper. So we're kind of trying to be consistent throughout the system. The scope of work that HDR has provided us for roundabout design and sidewalk design are very similar. The plan is to take this to 100% plan spec and estimate. Everything necessary to go to construction will be provided at the end of the agreement. The consultant's fees are $735,000. Current source funding is transportation impact fees. Additional funds are from general governmental, water, sewer, and storm utility CFPs. And these are all considered mitigation for the city operations and maintenance facility and Trails End Park. And that's it. Any questions?
Okay, Councilmember Schneider.
Thank you. Good morning, Don.
Morning.
So I have a question for you. So on the roundabout in relationship to the building of the park, is one going to be done before the other, or are we going to try to have both those projects going at the same time? So once one's completed, the other one will be done as well.
So the way things are going, as far as design, what it takes in time for one to complete over the other, it's really dependent on how fast we're able to go with the design. We're going to complete them and go to construction as soon as we can. It appears at this time, it's really hard to tell which is going to come first. I'm fearing that the operations and maintenance building is probably one of the longer time frames. The parks may be a lot sooner, and the roundabout is going to be somewhere in the middle there.
So it's kind of what comes first, the chicken or the egg, that type of thing. No, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Councilmember Althauser.
I might have missed it at the beginning, but can you talk about when we sort of expect deliverables and plans from the consultants in terms of just timeline?
So we're looking at 30% design for the roundabout, which would be our concept. We were looking at, see, this is late summer for that. And then in early spring of 2024, we should be getting 60%. And then probably late next year is going to be 100% PS&Es.
Okay. Do you know if the analysis or the traffic impact statement, or I don't know where this would be, but one of the features I think of the roundabout is just improving safety on that road, because it's going to slow people down as when they're headed north in particular. Do you know like does our analysis sort of take into account the traffic calming features, and does it articulate the improved kind of public safety aspect of putting a roundabout there?
So I was not involved with the traffic study on 99. So I'm not sure. I mean, that's generally what one of the concepts behind a roundabout is to improve traffic safety and also to decrease the potential impacts of a vehicle crash. But that one specifically was a study I'm not aware.
I wasn't sure if anybody else was going to pop up. All right. Do we have any other questions for Don? Okay. All right. So we have a recommended action before us. Staff requests that the Public Works Committee recommend the City Council approve and authorize the mayor to sign the service provider agreement with HDR Engineering Incorporated for the old Highway 99 and 79th Avenue roundabout. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay,
I'll
second.
second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you, Don, for your presentation.
Thank you.
One more thing. There's so much going on in the city.
That's right. That's good.
Yes. All right, and now we're on to item number 6, and that's the authority to solicit bids and award contract for the 2023 pavement maintenance project. And we have Bill up.
Okay, good morning. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's see, where are we? There we go. All right, can you see it?
Mhm.
All right,
Yep.
so good morning. Today I'm presenting on the 2023 pavement maintenance project. This is to asking for 2 items. One is the ability to solicit construction bids, and the second is going to be a request to increase our change order authority percent for the project, which I'll talk about at the end of the presentation. So to start with, just a little quick background on the planning. When we plan our paving projects, we use the pavement condition index, which is basically a system to prioritize or to evaluate the roadways within the city and then prioritize them into a list of the most significant roads that need to be repaired, and the least significant, kind of a priority list. And we use that initially to evaluate the roadways, to try to begin our selection, usually through field visits with the engineers to kind of verify that those roadways actually need repairs. And then the most important thing there is that we have the right repair at the right time. Sometimes a roadway sometimes a roadway may look in pretty bad condition, but it might make sense just to do a repair to it to get a few more years of design life until money comes up to fix it. The other thing that's a big component is all the other projects within the city and also from outside sources like developers and utility companies, where we don't want to repave a roadway if we have a big utility project coming through or we have a developer doing work on that road. So it's pretty complex to come up with an actual priority list for the project, but we do take all of those things into account when we actually pick the roadways that we're going to repair. And the most important is to maximize our transportation benefit district funds to ensure that we're spending the money wisely throughout the project so that we can increase the design life on those roadways. Tumwater is a small community, but there are a lot of miles of road to maintain, so it's really important. So this project is a little bit bigger than our normal paver projects. I think that the city has done in the past, at least the ones I'm familiar with. This project has 2 components. It has a paving component, and then it also has a maintenance component. The paving component is really where we're going to be doing our asphalt overlays and inlays. The asphalt overlays are just overlaying asphalt over existing pavement without really any additional work. And the inlays are where we grind out the pavement and then we overlay. And those are typically done in areas where we have curb gutter, driveways, things like that we have to tie into. So grades are an issue. So we have to take out some of the asphalt to repair it with new asphalt. The project's also going to include sidewalk ramp repairs. We're gonna replace all of the failing castings. Those are for manholes, survey monuments, things like that within the roadway, and then also some minor storm drainage repairs. The roadway maintenance component starts out with our citywide pavement marking project, which we're combining with the paver project this year. And that's really our paint line project where we restripe the roadways throughout the city. We have a plastic pavement marking replacement component this time. We're on specific roadways, especially the roundabouts down on Little Rock and places like that, where we're actually replacing the existing plastic pavement marking, which is really the arrows, crosswalks, things like that. We also are replacing quite a number of damaged or missing raised pavement markers throughout the city. And those are the ones that get knocked off from snow plows or street sweepers or just come off. And they just need to be replaced on a pretty regular basis. And the most important part of the maintenance is the crack sealing and roadway repair. And that's where we actually crack seal the pavement to keep water from infiltrating into the roadway, and then repairing things like potholes and such that have gone bad on the roadway. So this is just a big overview of the paving improvements, just to give you an idea kind of how widespread it is. We're doing work all the way down at 83rd and then all the way up at Montman Road. These are all the roadways components you see there in the red are roadways that will be overlaid in some form via asphalt. This is our pavement maintenance map. And this map here it's a little busy, but basically it kind of lays out the different areas that we're working in. We're doing the black line that goes all the way around is kind of our pavement marking limit. That's where we're going to be restriping all the major roads in those areas. Not all the roads, but all the ones that need it. The green areas are the crack sealing and roadway repair components. The yellow is our plastic pavement marking replacement, and the cyan color is the raised pavement marking. So as you can see, the project's pretty widespread throughout the city, covering quite a number of different components that we need to do for maintenance of our roadways. Just a quick project overview of kind of the important facts on the project. Our current engineer's estimate is $4 million. We're expecting, we're kind of looking at a range between 3.6 and 4.4 when the bids come in. Obviously, asphalt prices are kind of changing quite a bit, so it's hard to really tell where we're going to hit in that, but that's probably the big determiner of what our bids are going to come out to. Our funding is through the Transportation Benefit District. We're looking at about 50 working days for the project. In calendar days, that's about 2.5 months. Our project schedule, bid opening around mid-May, under contract about mid-June or maybe earlier. And then our construction season would be the July, August, and then probably into September, a week or two, in order to finish up everything. And for the change order authority, the currently per Tumwater Municipal Code, our change order authority is 10% of the project. I think on past paver projects, we have increased it to 20% as well. And the reason for increasing it to 20% is that paver projects are a little bit different than normal designed bid build projects. They're very fast-paced projects. The contractor mobilizes to do large amounts of work in a very short period of time. And what we're looking at is the ability to be a little bit more nimble during the project and do the best product, make decisions in the field that we need to. Conditions do change, and sometimes they find things that we're not aware of when they start grinding and doing other things, and we need the ability to work fast in the field to make the important decisions that are needed to complete the improvements without causing construction delays or additional costs from the contractor. So that pretty much concludes my presentation. Does anyone have any questions on the paver project?
Do we have any questions?
Questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, council member.
Thank you, Bill. So you mentioned the raised pavement marking replacements. I do adopt the road every 3 months, and I'm always picking up these markers or markings. And the ones that I'm not picking up could possibly go down the storm drains and obviously go into our water right away. So is this a federal or a state requirement that we continue to put these markers on our roads?
It's not a federal or state. It's a local agency determination. I think it's us. But the reality is that due to our climate in the Pacific Northwest, striping is very hit or miss. And that's why typically in these areas you see raised pavement markings, because it's, you know, with the rain and fog and other things that go on, it just makes the roadways much delineates the roadways in a very good way as compared to just striping. So I do believe that it's needed, especially on the busy roads. It's just kind of they actually last quite a long time. But they do have a life just like anything else, and they're just glued on, so they will eventually come off. And they do get knocked off by snowplows, but normally snowplows account for it. So usually they don't hit all of them. They'll just knock a few off, and you know, every once in a while. So
Okay, thank you for that. I appreciate that.
okay.
Councilman Althoser.
Thanks. For the change order authority, just so I understand about that. So let's say hypothetically, we had a contract for 4 million, the engineer's estimate. So the change order authority gives the city permission to adjust that contract upwards or downwards in the range of anything less than 20% of that, which in that hypothetical would be up to $800,000. Is that right?
Yes, I think what you're saying is correct. Yeah, the percentage changes the change on the contract price. So at the 10%, like in this case, we could authorize change orders at 10% of the total contract price. At the 20 just gives us some more latitude. I think, like I said, this has been utilized on other paper projects in the past, and it's actually worked out pretty well. I don't think I've discussed this with Brandon, and this is not really a funding issue. I think there's enough money in the transportation benefit district to absorb that. The biggest issue is because paper projects they're very mobilized based. So once a contractor starts moving asphalt, it's extremely expensive to stop. So if there's an issue and we have to address it, you know, a small issue can be a lot of money just to address in the field. And that's really what we're looking for, is that ability to be smart about what we're doing, but have a little bit of wiggle room in there to account for it in the field.
So it sounds like if something was, we usually do 10% other than some of these past paving projects, but it sounds like if it was going to go above 10% and we're in the field and need to make a game time call, that it could actually be more expensive to wait and then come back for council reauthorization of a small increase above 10%. That we have an opportunity cost here, and that's the justification for being slightly higher than our other projects. Is that right?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Councilmember Aldhauser, sorry to interrupt. I was just going to also mention that we have had projects in the past where it allowed us to add additional roads to the project because the pricing was actually favorable. So that's another reason to allow that.
So not just within the original scope of work, but if the scope of work can be expanded, then that's another policy rationale for allowing that. Okay.
That's correct.
That makes sense. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. I have a question about in the past, it seems like we did things with the county. We're able to do, like, was it like piggyback with their
The chip seal.
paving projects as well? Yeah. Or we'll, okay, go ahead.
Oh, Councilmember, I don't understand your question.
Well, I think, Brandon, in the past that we have had some that we were able to, that some of the Thurston County was part of the chip seal as well when they're doing their project over the summertime, that we were able to maximize. I think Brandon would know, he's the one that had presented that before in the past when we've done these summer paving projects. That
Councilmember Swarthout, may I jump in?
Yeah.
We have talked with the county. We have also worked with them on striping in the past. However, you will notice that it's in this proposed contract. So At this time, we haven't been able to find a nexus for the work this year, but it's a conversation that we keep having every time we're doing work. We are talking about, there is a little bit of coordination going on for those roads down toward the south end of the city. But
Mhm.
there hasn't been a chance for us to overlap this time.
Okay, okay, all right, thank you for that. All right, do we have any other questions for Bill? Okay, we do have a recommended action before us. The staff recommend or requests that the Public Works Committee authorize staff to solicit bids for the 2023 pavement maintenance project and recommend City Council award and authorize the mayor to sign a Public Works contract with the lowest responsible bidder. And then staff, do we have to do this in two motions, Karen, or can we do it all at once?
All at once is just fine.
Okay, staff also requests that the Public Works Committee recommend the City Council increase the change order authority provided to the Transportation and Engineering Director under Tumwater Municipal Code 2.14.060 to 20% for this project. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Second? All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 All right, thank you very much, Bill.
Thank you.
All right, and let's see, we're going on to our next one here, and we have agreement with the Clear Creek contractors for the 2023 Palermo Lagoon dredging and maintenance project, and we'll be hearing from Dan.
Good morning, council. I'll be presenting for Steve Craig. He's the project manager on this position, but he is on a much needed vacation. And one he doesn't get to take very often. And before I begin, I just wanted to note, with all the talk with beavers this morning, we're going to be getting some statewide recognition this month as we, Dave Congeezer, who's up, I believe, after me or later on in this meeting, and our stormwater field crew are going to be presenting on some of the best management practices we've employed around beavers. So I'm really excited to have Dave and the storm crew out there. Kind of highlighting some of the successes we've had and some of the challenges, that have led to those successes, but kind of excited to do that. And Councilmember Schneider, if you're having some beaver challenges down there at the East Street site or wherever, feel free to reach out to Grant, and maybe we can figure out some ways to help you save some of those trees, or at least sacrifice some of the other ones that we can let them have. So with that, I will share my screen here, hopefully, because let me see if I can do this all at once. And can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Oh, wait a minute. That's because I have to hit the share screen button. I can't just press the button on the presentation. I'm on a single screen today, which is challenging my designs. There we go. Okay, now you can see my screen.
Yep.
See the presentation. Great. Okay. So you first saw this project back in June of 2022 when we presented the interlocal agreement with WashDOT, State Department of Transportation, who is the primary responsible party for the Palermo Superfund project, noting that our Palermo wellfield is here in the south end of this picture. And they've been investigating the contaminant plume, PCE and TCE that is kind of moving through this neighborhood. This aeration lagoon serves as a catch for the surface waters that drain around the edge of the neighborhood perimeter and travel through this aeration lagoon, capturing the stormwater runoff and the any other kind of groundwater that might be intercepting at the shallow levels there. After that interlocal agreement went out in 2022, we solicited bids. We only received one bid, and it was much higher than we had originally scoped the agreement out with WashDOT. And so back in January of this year, we came back for an amendment with you to increase the amount of that contract with WashDOT. And this is a project where we are actually managing the project. We're soliciting the bids. We're developing the contracts with the contractors. We're managing the project overall, but WashDOT is actually going to be paying the bill for the contractor. So that amendment that we came to you in earlier this year that increased the funds to cover any additional costs. And so after that, we went back out to our original solicitation list. We actually expanded that list to more contractors to see if there were other interested and available and qualified folks to come out and do the job. We still only received one bid from the original contractor. That came in at $126,650. They are qualified, and the picture in front of you here, this is just if you were on the ground from the golf course, this is the aeration pond, and you can only see one of the aerators is functioning right now, but there are 3 of those aerators in there. And the purpose of that aeration is to really just move that water, very similar to what we have at our drinking water treatment plants. We have those large aerators that are attached to both the Palermo and Bush well fields, and that serves to basically volatilize those chemicals and evaporate them into the atmosphere, prior to either one entering our surface waters here downstream into the Deschutes River or into our drinking water from the well field. So this is just a cross section of the work that they're going to be doing. We have 3 transects here. This one is the farthest south. And you can see from that yellow line that crosses the graph, there's probably in some places, 2 to 3 feet of sediment that has built up over time as that water moves through from the wetlands to the south towards the Deschutes River. That sediment is what we're asking the contractor to come in and remove. And so you can see how these are actually, there's probably a little bit more sediment in there today than there was in 2019. These graphs were developed from data collected in 2019, but you can see each one of these transects. This is the middle basin there, and then the third basin. You have the continued sediment. So the sediment builds up. Not a big surprise as it moves into the pond from the south to the north, and the contractor will be responsible for removing that. So permitting is currently underway. The city is the lead on doing that. We have our SEPA, the determination of non-significance that we've received already, and then we have recently submitted our hydraulic project approval application to Washington Fish and Wildlife, and so that is currently underway. Once we're able to execute this contract, we anticipate that the contractor will develop the health and safety plan and the work plan fairly quickly. Overall, we don't expect this work to take more than a month. Once they're able to get started, we're hoping to complete it all by July 31st, the termination of the contract. And that would also include the dredging, the sediment removal of those sediments, the dewatering of those sediments, and then the disposal of those sediments. And as I mentioned, overall, the contract cost is $126,650. So with that, we're asking that the Public Works Committee recommend the City Council approve and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement with Clear Creek Contractors for the Palermo Lagoon Dredging and Maintenance Project in the amount of $126,650. With that, I offer any questions.
Do we have any questions for Dan? No.
Okay.
I was just curious about the sediment. Is it just like mud, or what kind of stuff? Is it anything that's really contaminated, or is it like stuff that's coming off the highway? What would that?
Yeah,
kind of sediment
it's
are we
really
looking
it's sediments that are coming from the stormwater system. So as it drains down towards the golf course, it's sediments that generate as the surface waters are flowing through that system. It's not. We did have the geoengineers, who's a contractor, also working for WashDOT as kind of the Palermo supervisor on site. They did a hazardous profile back in 2019, 2020 when we were conceptualizing this project with them, and it wasn't determined at that time to be hazardous. However, when the contractor comes in, they will also be testing the sediments that they're removing to determine are these hazardous material, or are they just basically solid waste, and that'll also change the cost of the disposal for them. But we anticipate that these are not hazardous. They are just your standard sediments that accumulate in a surface water system.
All right. Okay, so we do have a recommended action before us, and let's see. So staff requests the Public Works Committee recommend the City Council approve and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement with Clear Creek Contractors for the Palermo Lagoon Dredging and Maintenance Project in the amount of $126,650.
So moved.
And And I'll second Councilmember Althoser had to step off for just a moment. So we'll go ahead. Those in favor of approving this action, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you,
Great,
Dan.
thank you.
All right. It's gonna be a busy summer for you guys. And let's see, and we'll have you back up again. We have the Stormwater Capacity Grant Agreement with the Department of Ecology, Amendment number 1.
Yes, good morning, council.
Oh, no. Not- Sorry,
Let
David.
you got me. Okay. Let me pull up my screen here. And we can talk a little bit about this capacity grant funding amendment. Let's see if I can advance my screen here. There we go. So the capacity grant is a standard grant that we receive from Ecology to help us meet our permit compliance obligations through NPDES permit. And typically the grant goes towards education materials such as printing and mailings that we submit through our finance department. We also use it for staff trainings, like the one that Dan mentioned. We're coming up and do presentations on beavers. So funds from the grant capacity grant pay for that. We also purchase spill response supplies, and it's also gone to this the equity index mapping project that you've heard a little bit about in the past. So recently, the legislature provided an additional $25,000 for this grant for us, which extends our grant contract period from March 31st of this year, which was just a couple of days ago, to June 30th. So an additional $25,000 for the next couple of months, which is a great thing. So the additional funds will be used for a water quality monitoring program that we hope to initiate. And then further educational opportunities. We're going to be working with the school district on a few projects, which is great. And then we want to expand our pet waste station program. And a lot of this is through our SMAP or our SMAP process, our stormwater management action planning process that we've done, which is another NPDES permit requirement. So a lot of it aligns with current work that we're doing. So the additional funds would be definitely welcome. Just a quick ask for the recommend the city council approve and authorize the mayor to sign amendment number 1 for the 2021 to 2023 capacity grant to support our stormwater program. Short and sweet. There you go.
All right, do we have any questions for David? Good. You want to go ahead and, yeah, there we go. Take us out of that screen. I can see their lovely faces.
Yeah, let me get us out of here. Stop sharing. There it is.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, so we have the recommended action. The city council approve and authorize the mayor to sign amendment number 1 to the 2021-23 capacity grant supporting the city's stormwater program. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, a second. My council members.
Sorry about that. I'll second that.
You've gone MIA shortly. The beavers got
That's
you.
what I
Sorry.
did, yeah.
So all those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
Great.
Recommended action is approved.
Thank you so
very
much. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much for all your work. It's going to be a busy summer, you guys. So with that, do we have any other things that we need to talk about? Any additional items to be brought forward? No? Okay. Well, with that, then I will call the Thursday, April 6, 2023 Public Works meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your work. Have a good day.